simple question, Robbie Earl. Who are those imposters in Manchester City shirt?
Well, they're shattered, they're wounded, they're broken. They are. They just are. We can see it. It amazes me that they've fallen this far.
2023 is the year of the City treble.
June 10th, 2023. A year and a half ago, Manchester City were crowned champions of the football world. The 10th ever European treble winners, 25-match unbeaten streak, a third consecutive Premier League title with a record-setting season for new star Erling Haaland. Fast forward, it's December 2024. Pep and Man City have won 1 of their last 12 matches, sitting in 6th in the Prem, conceding the most goals in the top flight since November, 22nd in the Champions League, and easily the worst stretch Pep has had as a manager. Now 7th and still in the UCL, doesn't seem that bad, maybe even a good season for certain clubs, but it doesn't make sense for City. To put it into context how bad of a stretch this has been for City, we have to look at how dominant they've been the past 7 years. First, the obvious. In 7 years, the club has won a Champions League, 6 Premier League titles, a UEFA Super Cup, a Club World Cup, 2 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, and 3 English Super Cups. They're the first club to ever win 4 consecutive Premier Leagues. They've set the record for most points, wins, and goals in a Premier League season in 2018. In 2019, they won 14 consecutive matches in the Prem to ruin a near-perfect season from Liverpool. And of course, in 2023, won the club's first and only Champions League title, beating Leipzig, Bayern, Real Madrid, and Inter Milan along the way. The Blues did not lose a match at home from December 2022 until October 2024. And the club just got its first ever Ballon d'Or winner with Rodri winning the award this year. Clubs would walk into the Etihad knowing they were going to be crushed by some of the best football ever played in the Prem, or in the world for that matter. So the question is, what happened to Manchester City? To answer that question, we have to turn back the clock to the summer of 2023. You're treble winners, you're on top of the world, you're not really thinking about how to replace certain players who will be leaving in the summer, but these are club legends we're talking about. Aymeric Laporte, Riyad Mahrez, Gundogan, all walking out in the same summer, and you're replacing them with Gvardiol, Mateus Nunes, Jeremy Doku, Mateo Kovacic. Really not the same caliber of player. Oh, and you sell Cole Palmer for about £200 million less than he's worth to a league rival, that definitely won't come back to hurt City later. Aside from Gvardiol, you cannot say that any of these signings were worthy replacements. And even after a title-winning 2024, the signs were there that City were slowly slipping from their typical standard. First, we have to look at City's matchup with Real Madrid in last year's UCL quarterfinals. They did beat Madrid soundly 2 years prior, but City walked into the Bernabeu with Akanji at right back due to a Kyle Walker injury. This is not the same team. Even though City struck first in this match, Camavinga got a perfect deflection for Madrid's first, and Vinicius cooks an out-of-position Akanji for the second. City took the lead off 2 brilliant individual goals, but at the end of the day, Akanji still gave Vinicius too much space, and Gvardiol, who still really shouldn't be at left back, allows Valverde to slip behind and equalize. Remember these errors for later. In the return leg, City played a much better match defensively, but the errors made in Spain proved to be costly. City could not find their finishing boots, and of course lost on pens to eventual UCL champions Madrid. Oh, and that Cole Palmer guy City just sold is pretty good at football. You probably could have used him in that match against Madrid. But you know what? These things happen. The Champions League is the toughest competition to win, and it's Real Madrid you were playing. But let's fast forward again to the FA Cup final. City came off an incredible unbeaten run to win the Prem over Arsenal and looked to finish a domestic double in a Manchester derby final. City won home and away against United in the Prem, so nobody was favoring the Red Devils in this one. And of course, the world was shocked at Wembley. Again, Gvardiol uncomfortable at left back, basically hands United their first goal. And shortly after, Walker is just snoozing around behind Kobe Mainu, who punishes that mistake. United are up 2-0 early, but a late City goal is about all they can get in the next 60 minutes. The Red Devils clearly wanted the match more and deserved to win the match, becoming FA Cup winners over their bitter rivals. That lack of effort from City could have just been fatigue after a long season, or maybe a team that's already won everything doesn't have the same hunger for winning that they used to. But again, nobody really thought the Premier League winners wouldn't care. Right? Then comes the summer. To be honest, this summer is embarrassing for any top flight club, much less the Premier League winners who employ the greatest manager on earth. Bringing back a well past his prime Gundogan and an unproven Savinho, while Rodri's only backup, Calvin Phillips, is sent away. The club's only other real goal scorer allowed to be sold off in Julian Alvarez, and 2 very solid fullbacks who could have been valuable backups gone from the club. It was a disaster of a window. And then the straw that broke the camel's back. City win the Community Shield and their first 4 matches in the Prem, and host title favorites Arsenal at the Etihad. Haaland quickly shoots City up 1-0 and in control, but something's wrong on this corner. Rodri, the talisman of Manchester City, the best midfielder in the world for basically the past 2 seasons, UCL final man of the match, has torn his ACL and finds out that his season is over. Rodri a couple weeks later did claim a Ballon d'Or for his past season's efforts, and City were even sitting in first place through match week 9, but at this point the damage was done. City didn't have any youth players breaking through, injuries are piling up along the back line, your best player is out for the season, and your club's biggest legend is in and out of the lineup due to injury, and as mentioned previously, City's owners did not invest in the team's depth at all since 2023, and then the floodgates just opened. You lose to Spurs in the Carabao Cup with a rotated squad, not a big deal, right? But then Bournemouth shock everyone. City's 32-match unbeaten run ended by the Cherries. Then you get crushed by Sporting in the Champions League with 19-year-old Jamai Simpson-Pusi forced to start his first top-flight match because, again, you did not sign any coverage in defense. And the losses didn't stop there. Brighton steal 3 points late. Tottenham embarrasses City in the Etihad no less. Now you're really scared. First time Pep's ever lost 5 matches in a row as a professional manager. But look, City are up 3-0 on Feyenoord. Nice little bounce back. But Feyenoord wasn't done. They come back from 3-0 down in the Etihad. City drop points again and drop down the Champions League standings now. And this is right before a trip to Anfield to face bitter rivals and first place holders Liverpool. The score could have been worse, but the result is no different. Liverpool take all 3 points. City drop down to 5th place in the Prem. De Bruyne comes back to help City break the streak. They beat Forest 3-0, but is it too little too late? 16th place Palace get a point off the Blues. Juventus dominate them in the UCL, and we make a return to the Manchester Derby, the most must-win derby City has had against their bitter rivals United in a long time. Guardiola gives them the lead, and they hold on for the first 85 or so minutes, but remember what I said about defensive mistakes and people playing out of position. Midfielder Mateus Nunes, forced to play at right back and left back at times, plays a horrendous pass, and then clobbers Amad Traore for a pen that Bruno converts. 2 minutes later, the entire backline falls asleep for Amad's winner. Embarrassing. One of the worst City losses in Pep's entire era. Follow that up with Villa dominating the champions, and we find ourselves at the present day, or at least while I'm recording. City have a match against Everton, and let's see how that one turns out. As of when I'm recording this, City are in a completely unfamiliar 7th place. They couldn't defend a Chipotle bowl from a fork, much less a top flight club from scoring on their net. And to make matters worse, the 115 charges City are facing from UEFA could be leading to a punishment in February or March according to Pep. Whether they get a points deduction, relegated, or even just a fine, the blue side of Manchester is in trouble at the moment. People are already asking about Pep's future, if he's washed, what players City needs to bench and which need to play more. But in my opinion, this issue is more of a systematic one, and this January transfer window will be crucial if City want to save their system and salvage something from this season. So let's be blunt here. This is Manchester City we're talking about. They're not begging for cash. They can easily fill in a lot of the holes in their team in this upcoming January transfer window. If the Blues expect to compete for the Premier League this season, then the #1 priority for the window has to be defensive midfield. Pep's system depends on the intelligence and skill of its number 6. An ideal signing for this position is Real Sociedad star Martin Zubimendi, a Euro winner and one of the best midfielders in La Liga who fits Pep's need for intelligence, speed, and effective passing in the number 6. However, if Sociedad want to charge an absurd fee for Zubimendi, Pep should get on the phone with his former club and get them to send Frankie de Jong over to Manchester. His limited play time for Barca and now sitting at 27 years old, City should be able to negotiate a reasonable transfer fee or even a loan deal for the very underrated midfielder. Then, City need to prioritize improving their defense all around. First, look for fullbacks, especially on the right side where Kyle Walker has clearly reached the end of his time with this club and at the top flight. Players like Leipzig's Gertruda, Dumfries at Inter Milan, and Fiorentino's Michael Coyote are pacey, technically sound defensive options at right back, all at reasonable fees. Coyote specifically stands out after winning Best Italian Talent of the Year at just 20 years old. Next priority should be center back depth. John Stones' age and injury history will force Pep to look for a younger ball-playing center half such as Dean Huijsen, who's helped transform Bournemouth's back line and is still only 19 years old. Finally, City need another winger. After Sane, Sterling, Mahrez, Jesus all departing, the wing play has been desperately lacking for Manchester City. Ship off Grealish and look for a proven goal-scoring option. Not many great scoring wingers exist in football today, but even if you don't find one, getting rid of Grealish is already an improvement for this team. Bringing in a younger wave of players is essential, whether that's through transfers or academy players. The last generation of City players is near its end. To not continue the trend of this past month, City not only needs to rebuild this time in January and next summer, but it also needs to turn one player season around. The PFA Player of the Year did just about nothing for England at the Euros, and regardless of why that happened, Foden hasn't been the same since. After 40 goal contributions last season, Foden has 1 goal and 1 assist in 12 Prem games this time around. Whether he's been sick, injured, facing personal issues, or just in a poor run of form, Pep needs to reset Foden. Maybe move him back to his old spot on the left wing where he excelled and get his stars clicking before it's too late. A team with Foden, Haaland, and KDB should always be competing for the title, and if Guardiola can find some new pieces in defense and at the 6, City's attack will surely find a rhythm as the season goes on. Although there seems to be a ton of turmoil at the club and the 115 pending charges against them could lead to drastic consequences, if they focus on what happens on the pitch, City still are in the mix for top 4 and the Champions League and have more than enough money to make a change sooner rather than later. With Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Salford, and Ipswich ahead on their fixture list, City do have a chance to catch their breath and get their squad fit and in form. Since recording this, City have drawn against Everton and beat Leicester 2-0, but they didn't look very good in either match, and a lot of the problems have stayed the same. Alright, back to the video. If they don't take advantage of these easier matches, Pep might spend a lot of time scratching his head when City take on the gauntlet next month. From January 25th to February 25th, they'll be facing PSG, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Tottenham. If Man City don't figure things out by then, we could be looking at one of the most shocking mid-table finishes in Premier League history.